Loops 50.1 Wedding Part 1. Twilight blinked awake, and glanced over at Spike. He nodded at her with a grin, and briefly pushed himself an inch taller to show he was awake. Right, thanks, Twilight said with a nod. Let's see, 2 honesty, 1 other magic, both your loyalty and dashes, the other elements are awake as well. A scrying spell appeared in front of her, flickering as she tuned it from location to location. Midway through the process, Nyx and Luna appeared in a burst of starlight. Hi, Nyx, Spike said, waving. Art we chopped liver? Luna asked, frowning. Oh, and Luna of course. Spike shrugged, earning him a playful glower. Very. Angel, and Mare, Twilight concluded. I think we're all here. Spike raised a claw. Does that mean? Yes, Twilight confirmed. This loop's the big one. But first we need to sort you 2 out. I had an idea, actually, Nyx grinned. Asterisk tremble in fear, mortals. Luna nightmare boomed to the gathered ponies of Ponyville. The night will last forever. Big sis, a filly's voice piped from the backstage area. Where did you put the crackers? Luna let her hooves fall back to the stage, and turned. Not now, Nyx, she said in a strained voice. I'm busy. Nyx pushed the curtain aside. Sorry, but I want to have some crackers with my milk, and oh, am I on stage? She waved to the audience, some of whom waved back. Stop it. Luna punctuated that statement with a hoof stamp and a wave of her wings. You're messing with my big entrance. Ooh, Nyx said slowly. Sorry, I forgot about that. See you later, sis. Luna turned to the front of the stage as Nyx trotted off again. Right. Now, where were we? Last forever, Pinky Stage whispered, beaming. Right, thank you. Luna raised her hooves again. The night will. Can you heat the milk, please? Nyx asked. Oh, forget it. Luna shrugged her wings. I give up. Celestia can have it. She flounced off. The Princess of the Sun emerged from the other side of the stage a few seconds after Luna had left. Sorry I'm late, I had to help my baby sister find some crackers. Now, shall we begin? Asterisk well, Your Highness, Mare said, looking a little uncomfortable. It certainly worked. The main question I've been hearing in my office is why no pony remembered that you and Luna had a younger sister. Celestia nodded. Good. I shall introduce Luna and Nyx properly in a few days, so as to make the populace as a whole thoroughly familiar with them. Right. The mayor frowned. Your Highness? Can we stop most of the catastrophes that would normally befall Ponyville? It's a little tedious clearing them all up. I believe we can prevent most of them, Celestia temporized. We may require Discord's rampage, however. That or the mirror, she mused. It bears further thought. But yes, I believe that such as the Parasprites and the Ursa may be prevented as much as is in our capacity. Asterisk Spike knocked on the door of the rich household. You could tell it was a rich household because, well, for one thing it was a large and well-built house with grounds. For another, it had a number of tasteful and expensive sculptures visible. And the fact that a butler opened the door helped as well, of course. Hi. Heir. I wanted to speak to Diamond Tiara. The butler nodded wordlessly, and did the butler vanishing act. Spike walked in and sat down on a chair. To pass the time, he took out a cube with colored squares on it. Each time he clicked one of the sides around, half the facets changed color. It was something Twilight had made as a memory test. Apparently it simulated 7-dimensionality. Spike. Tiara asked, coming down the stairs. You here? He stowed the cube. Yet. With a furtive look back at the door, he walked over. Did you finish it? Tiara nodded. Yep. Got it done a few loops ago, but I thought I'd wait to deliver it until the loop in question. She pulled a box from her subspace pocket. Here. Spike took it, and opened it carefully for a quick peek at the glittering ring held within. It was made of a slightly bluish translucent material, which looked a little like the blue sheen one sometimes found on a metal absent the metal itself. The capstone surmounting it was a marquise-cut transparent diamond, set within a recessed heart-cut red gemstone. "Wow, that's impressive," he breathed, closing the box. "So, how'd you make it?" "Well..." Diamond paused, and motioned him into one of the receiving rooms. "So, obviously I was flattered when you asked for my help making the ring," Tyara began. Spike shrugged, a smile on his lips. "Asking Rarity was contraindicated, and fused loops are unreliable. And now I feel much less flattered," she said with a smirk. The dragon threw up his arms. "A hit, a palpable hit. Anyway, I gave it a bit of thought, and the most important thing soon became clear. Durability." She nodded at the box. "That ring is as close to invulnerable as I could make it, because it might be required to last as long as you both live, which, within the loops, is a very long time indeed." "I see the logic." Spike nodded. "So, first things first. The body of the ring. That's actually molecularly grown Korsksa gem." Diamond shook her head. "Took 20 years, on and off, to run the spell to grow it, because I wanted to eliminate shatter points and because I could only run it when I had time to ascend without suspicion. If you're wondering, the reason it doesn't look like a fireworks display is something I'll get to later." "Korsksa gem? Oh, that thing Lando was working on." The dragon paused, then let out an "oh" of realization. "That's actually pretty brilliant. My formative loop, very symbolic." "Thank you." Tyara grinned. "One of my better ideas." "Okay, now, the bezel was grown integrally to microfractures induced in the larger stone, so they're all one piece, no weak point at the fastening. There's also a rim of Korsksa around the edge of the larger stone for redundancy." Spike nodded along. "Again, very thoughtful of you. It must be my military background." Tyara tossed her mane. "If it's impossible for things to go wrong, that's a good start. And the larger stone? You'll like this." She paused for dramatic effect. "That's the heart stone." Spike blinked, reaching for the box. "I thought the crystal heart was." "No, the heart stone. From that loop Twilight calls G1. Tyara grinned. "I technically stole it, well, acquired it, and then cut it to suit. Which took another 5 years, but who's counting?" "You," Spike pointed out. "Details. Anyway, given that it took an alicorn-powered version of a specialist gem-cutting spell used by a gemstone talent pony a month to make each facet, that should endure, well, anything. Even Discord's tender attentions." At Spike's querying look, she elaborated. "It's made out of a powerful harmony artifact. It's heavily resistant to chaos magic." "Gotcha. And the inner gem?" "Arcan's stone." Tyara waved her hoof self-deprecatingly. "Sweetie had some, she volunteered it. I start to see why it took so long." Tyara shrugged. It was an interesting challenge. There was a moment of silence. "And the enchantments?" Spike asked, after a few seconds. "Oh, right. 3 types. The first is purely cosmetic. It's got a masking spell which absorbs 98% of outgoing light until it's actually put on. When that happens, the masking spell drops, and it lights up like Korsksa gems are supposed to." Tyara flipped her hair with a hoof. "Just my little personal touch to the spectacle." "Yeah, that will look cool." "The second one," Tyara frowned. "Well, I'm not sure if it's necessary, but I put it in anyway. That earth enchantment on rings which resizes them to the wearer. Never fear, that one's certainly going to get used." Spike waved a claw. There's been a few times I was the pony and she was the dragon, you know, and that's just for a start. Yeah, that'll have a use. Good. Tiara flushed slightly. It was less embarrassing than walking up to Rarity and measuring her horn, too. Oh, the third category. Protective enchantments. Here. I kinda went nuts. Nuts is good, Spike volunteered. Right. So, step 1 is a trigger array which detects anything incoming with the prospect of even ablating away a single layer of atoms. I worked in precog to it, so it isn't limited by speed of light. Step 2 of the defenses is a stasis layer, which sets up about 2 angstroms above the surface if step 1 is triggered. Step 3. Tiara went on for at least a minute, getting progressively more thorough, with impressive but perhaps slightly worrying paranoia. And then step 14 is the last-ditch failsafe. If it detects that all of the above protections are going to fail, it automatically drops directly into Rarity's subspace pocket. Spike blinked. Back up. You designed something which can access the subspace pocket of another pony. Not exactly. Tiara waved a hoof. It attunes to her when first put on, and from then it reserves a tiny bit of space for emergencies. The neat thing about the precog is, well, I tested it on a ring blank, and it does actually react to the loop reset by dropping back in. The dragon absorbed that for a moment. Thanks, then, Tiara. That sounds like you've done me proud. Oh, don't mention it. The filly shrugged. Seriously. You two are the ones who've helped me nurture both my special talent in all its myriad interpretations and my little extra from Babylon 5. Spike stowed the box in his pocket with care, although he now knew that if he dropped it, it was rather more likely for the planet to break than for that ring to be damaged. Okay. Thanks anyway, though. Tiara nodded to him, and sighed. Imagine. A daughter of money, and my greatest work to date is in trade. Well, I don't think we ever actually discussed the issue of payment, Spike mused. Your word is good, of course, Tiara said with a shrug. No, I mean, if you're that worried about working in trade. Nice try. Tiara gave him a look. No, I'm not going to do it as a favor. Next 100 fused loops, get at least one sample from each new kind of geology uneaten, thank you. Spike saluted. Will do. Oh, and smooth service. Tiara added, raising her voice. This meeting never happened. Of course. Spike jumped. How did you do that? He demanded, turning in his seat to look at the butler standing directly behind the armchair. In response, Smooth Service simply parted his hair to reveal a small horn. Smooth Service's family have a kind of magic relating to quantum superposition or something. Tiara shrugged. I don't understand it myself and I've been trying, but, well, it's a valued talent among butlers. El Magnifico. Twilight trotted up to the bickering deities, checking off their names against a list from the hub universe of diverse mythological beings. Urd and Peorth were there, the one obviously trying to break up the fight, the other alternating between helping Urd and egging on Hestia, of all deities, who looked ready to pull Ishtar's head off piecemeal. Osiris was dictating regally, his beard vibrating practically in Coyote's face. Cupid was hovering a little off to the side, looking smug and getting yelled at by Chang'e about something or other. Sundry other gods, metaphysical embodiments, and other beings mingled, arguing about Yggdrasil knew what. Honestly, she was surprised Discord, Eris, and Loki weren't there. Half the deities present weren't even associated with love. This whole situation stank of mischief. Not wanting the whole thing to get out of hoof, Twilight started channeling mana. At worst, these beings would ignore her, and if it worked. Mass hold person. She could get them to all stop and listen to her, by dint of all being frozen in a purple aura. It was fortunate that apparently embodiments of admins were at least allowing themselves at this juncture to be affected by in-loop effects, probably to get pasted at the reception, Twilight went into stern without offending dangerous subject mode. Hi, hello. My name is Twilight Sparkle. Nice to meet you all. As you may or may not remember, I'm the anchor for this loop, and we consider it a sanctuary of sorts. I'd much rather divine wrath not get flung around willy-nilly without good reason. Seeing as how a lot of the gods in her thaumaturgical net were still trying their best to look belligerent, she decided to put her hoof down just a little. Now, if I remember correctly, the Yggdrasil framework runs on a quadrig 7-style bureaucratic circuit, with the Oxer-Humboidal pyramid referral and petition system going up from there. Twilight turned to Urd, releasing her from the purple stasis field as she did. Blonde curls bounced as the goddess nodded. Now, if I were to file a Form A72B with Urd's office, along with permit number 838 with Baldur's 4th Undersecretary, there would be, as per Circular B65, a complaints application with 42 copies needing to be signed and a teraflop of secondary forms for each of the involved parties. Purple lips spread in a smile that was only slightly threatening. I could give all of you a very large amount of paperwork to do. Ishtar's eye, the one that could face Twilight, swiveled to look at her and quiver angrily. Moreover, if any of this got up to the desk of the Almighty, I'm sure he'd be most thrilled to hear so many of his subcontractors decided to bicker like a squadron of newly fledged seagulls, and at a wedding yet. Cupid rolled his eyes. Twilight chose to ignore him. He had, after all, chosen his 20th century-influenced avatar. It was hard to take the little guy seriously. I understand, this is an auspicious occasion. It's not often something changes publicly and permanently in the loops. You're all very excited. You want to be a part of it. But you're also ignoring the fact that the facilitator has already been chosen, and that going over the happy couple's head is liable to backfire. Twilight's smile faded just a bit. The truth of the matter is, the lot of you have, technically, missed the boat. If this gets too far out of hoof, Spike and Rarity will simply decide that the private ceremony they had earlier, which was recognized by several admins, will suffice. To avoid causing chaos amongst the administrators, I think my friends would simply cancel the whole thing. Granted, there would be several people, myself included, that would be disappointed, but we wouldn't direct our ire at the happy couple. I feel, personally, that you'd like to avoid that. What was left of her smile vanished like an ice cube in Muspelheim. Because not only am I an anchor, and a close friend of both the prospective bride and groom, I've made acquaintance with and share bonds to several other such beings, and along with my time in the Hub universe, I've made quite a few comrades and companions. Friends, if you will, who wouldn't mind filling out one little form and maybe a permit, something that even their fellow loopers would be willing to do, were I to ask nicely. You lot might be above magic should you so choose to be, but friendship has a way of jumping metaphysical boundaries like no power can. And, just like that, the smile was back. The purple field dissipated, and before any of the deities could comment, Twilight was trotting off, a parting comment directed over her shoulder. Now, I've got arrangements to make for things we didn't already schedule. So many odd bits of the multiverse want their own contributions added to this ceremony. A traditional Fenrician Isael sculpture, would you believe? You people play nice now, see you at the wedding. There was silence for a bit before Sun Wukong, who was being sat upon by Hera, commented. Hard to believe she's run by one of Loki's kids. / Master Weaver. Fillies and gentle colts. A strange, mismatched serpentine creature floated over Ponyville. Your attention please. Giant glowing watermelons formed a collection of arrows in the sky, leading a confused populace to an inverted, hovering town hall. Every pony gasped when they saw what was beneath the floating building, a giant fishbowl containing 8 ponies and a dragon. Murmurs rippled through the crowd as the strange entity walked down steps made of marshmallow waffles. How'd he get a dragon in there? It's only a baby. I'm more concerned about the mayor. Is that the Summer Sun Celebration overseer? Sweet Celestia, the thing got Rainbow Dash. And her hermit friend from that cottage outside Everfree. That dressmaker and the apple girl, why both of them? Pinky and Berry Punch? What could that creature want with them? With a very loud sigh, the chimeric serpent produced a cane made out of nerf and rapped the fishbowl twice. Ahem! The crowd of ponies quieted down. Now then. My name is Discord. In days long gone and far away, I reigned over all of ponykind and spread wonderful chaos from hither to yon, and sometimes backwards. Some ponies complained, and the two that complained the loudest were Celestia and Luna. The creature shrugged. They locked me in stone for I don't know how long. But now, I'm back. Various loud screams came from the crowd, and a few ponies even fainted. Discord tapped his chin. Strange thing was, though Celestia thinks she's better fit to rule than I am. So I cut a deal with her. I'd take the current bearers of the elements of harmony, add in a few civilians, shake up the mix, and kick them out of reality. And if they made it back, I would let her keep the country. Seems fair, right? Hence, these ponies. A Talon gestured dramatically at the imprisoned assemblage. So, without further ado. His lizard leg reared back, spun around 5 times, and then he slapped the fishbowl with his tail. It vanished in a puff of cream cheese. And now we wait. While we wait, I'll practice my evil laugh. You. He pointed at a random blue mare. Time me. Yes sir. Discord took a deep breath. He smiled. How long was that? 3 minutes, 43 seconds, 2 deciseconds, 14 milliseconds. Yes. Discord's lion paw pumped the air. Half my previous record exactly. Without warning, a portal formed next to him. The first out was a pony recognizable as the former Sun Celebration organizer, if she'd taken a taste for latex and decided to brawl with tigers every other Wednesday. Right after her was Rainbow Dash, wearing some sort of armor that tripled her size and had shoulder pads as big as barrels. Berry Punch was the next one out, swaying slightly as she leaned on a strange primate-like biped wearing comfortable clothes and carrying a duffel bag. The dressmaker, now clad in bedazzling gems, rode a far larger dragon out after them. The crowd gasped as Mare came out, her mane entirely pink and cravat replaced by a shimmering green cloak and mask. When the apple girl appeared, wearing a long cloak and a pair of complicated goggles, a few ponies noted the necklace of garlic and drew their own conclusions. And when a great yellow wolf hopped out before transforming into a Pegasus, some ponies outright fainted. They missed the final arrival, Pinkie Pie, wearing a toga and blue shades and actually hovering above the ground as the portal vanished. There was a moment where every pony held their breath. Then the strange ape creature nodded. This is Equestria? It's very nice, actually. We spent 12 years trying to get back, Jenny. Rainbow Dash rolled her eyes. I think it'd have to be a lot better than very nice. Hey, I only just got here, I need time to judge. The blue mare raised an awkward hoof. You've only been gone a little over 4 minutes. The latex-wearing unicorn sighed. Of course. Time dilation. Trust us, every pony, for us it was 12 years. Which reminds me. She turned to Discord. We're back. Celestia 1. Put down town hall and get rid of the melons. Please, added the yellow Pegasus. Asterisk, how long were you gone? Nightlight asked, looking up at Spike. About, Spike trailed off. A decade, wasn't it? Closer to 12 years, dear, Rarity replied. Nightlight and Twilight Velvet turned to her. Dear. Well, Rarity blushed. Spike and I have grown rather close over the years, the 12 years, she added, shooting a look at Spike and making him grin and shrug, that we were, well, away. He and I have saved one another's lives many times, and Spike took over. I love her. We love one another, Rarity clarified. Twilight Velvet visibly realized something. 12 years. Right. Yes, Spike said, grinning uneasily. I'm afraid you missed my 18th birthday among others. Wait, back up. Nightlight looked across to the rest of the returnees, focusing on his children's shining armor having arrived from the palace as part of Celestia's entourage. Does this mean that my daughter is now older than my son? In a word, yes, Spike winced. We all got a bit confused and we're really glad it only went one way, so we didn't miss the time with you. Rarity shuffled her hooves. There's something else important, as well. Velvet's eyes widened. Wait. Are you two engaged? Did it about 3 months ago, Spike confirmed. That was a stressful time, really. We weren't sure if we'd ever get back, since we'd been gone so long already, and after another narrow shave we decided we shouldn't leave it to chance. All this wee business, Rarity interrupted, smiling broadly. You make it sound as though you didn't ambush me with a ring after that little incident. As I recall, you didn't exactly complain, Spike riposted. In fact, if memory serves, you literally jumped into my arms. Knight's lips were moving, as he looked between Spike and Rarity. Not to be crude, but the issue of size. Oh, right. Spike nodded. You haven't seen that yet. This is cool. He closed his eyes, and shrank slowly. From so large that Rarity could use him as a mount, down to a little larger than Princess Celestia. Seeing his two sort-of parents sit complicated staring, he put on a slightly failed attempt at a confident smile. Basically, that's how. It's the most useful thing I learned while we were gone. To get back on topic, Rarity said, picking up the conversation thread. Now that we're back in Equestria, we can invite everyone we want to invite. To the wedding, she added, finally saying the word itself. When do you plan to have it? Twilight Velvet asked straight away. I'll make sure to keep the entire week free. Well, actually, we hadn't thought that detail through, Spike admitted. Velvet frowned. I see. Well, that's fair enough. What about a venue? Any thoughts on that? That was one of the most exhausting conversations I've had for decades. Spike said half an hour later. I didn't realize Twilight's mom could be so devoted a wedding planner. I mean, she wasn't like this the first time. I think that's because we blindsided her with the time loops thing, Rarity mused. I hope my mother isn't so strongly focused on that side of things, or it could take a full hour to have that conversation. I think we know why Cadence and Twilight Velvet hit it off so well. This is so strange, Pearl said, looking Rarity up and down. To think that you're now only about 10 years younger than we are, you certainly don't look it. Rarity shrugged, slightly awkwardly. I kept in shape. We all did. She looked over to Spike, who'd been standing slightly back during the reunion. Come on, Spike. As the dragon approached, she looked at both parents. Spike has something important to ask. Mr. Bell, Spike said, solemnly. Would you do me the sublime honor of allowing me to take your daughter's hand in marriage? Pearl gasped, her eyes darting to her daughter. Rarity gave a quick smile, winking at her mother. Magnum didn't react for a moment. Rarity, he said, quietly. Sorry, Dad, she replied, blushing. I'd have taken him to get to know you, but, you know, alternate universe, and all that. She told me a lot about you, Spike contributed. I should hope she told you a lot about both of us. Pearl said, then giggled. Or perhaps not, we might scare him away. Mother. Rarity said, trying to hold in laughter of her own. Okay, she's your problem now. Magnum nodded briskly. Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Spike. Rarity turned to her father, frowning. You don't mean that about me being a problem, do you? We love you, dear, but you could be 2 hooffuls and a horn as well. Pearl teased. Not every filly tries to redesign their graduation outfit because it's not fabulous enough. Spike blinked. I didn't hear about that. It was so long ago, Rarity muttered, her blush deepening. I'd almost forgotten. Right, when's the wedding? Magnum asked. I want to know if I can attend, or if there's a game on. Seeing Rarity's startled expression, he laughed. Got you. Then his expression softened. Of course I wouldn't miss out on your wedding for a hoofball game. Rarity rolled her eyes, looking imploringly at Spike. See what I have to cope with. / Feel rain. Shining, sorry. A pink alicorn threw herself to the captain of the Royal Guard, Shining Armor. Trying to be the most tactful possible, Shining answered as he raised himself from the floor. What for, Catty? Our wedding. It's almost time and I've been so occupied with preparing things for Spike and Rarity's wedding next year. This time not even Chrysalis appeared to remind me. Cadence seemed very tired and almost on the verge of tears. Both his calm mind and experience as a looper gave Shining Armor a quick getaway from this potential trouble. I have the next weekend free, how about we go to Las Pegasus and get married quickly there? But out wedding. Shining placed a hoof on his wife's mouth to let him keep speaking. We've had, how many weddings? How many we'll have in the future? I love getting married with you every time, but you're devoting your heart and soul to Spike and Rarity's this loop, a wedding which transcends Equestria itself. At Cadence's questioning look, Shining Armor explained, according to Twiley, this is the first time 2 loopers marry permanently without being married in the baseline first. It's that big. Cadence tried to remove a very surprised expression from her face. Looks that way, Shining Armor tried to reassure his wife. Not in name yet this loop. After a moment, Cadence sighed. Sure, something small this time will do. When is your leave? After the daytime Friday shift. After that I return on Tuesday. Imagining what she could have with a full long weekend with her husband, which still accounted to too little in Cadence's book, she gave a determined nod. Fine, I'll pick you up then and we'll go to Las Pegasus to marry. And, with a laugh not out of place from Nightmare Moon, Cadence teleported away. Asking himself if he was going to survive his wife until the big wedding this loop, Shining Armor sighed. / Master Weaver. Where have you been? Trixie squealed, pinning down the newcomer with what was either a grateful hug or an angry full-body grapple. I've been worried sick. Literally. In the hospital and everything. Sorry, changeling politics this loop are complicated. Chrysalis sighed. A council of queens, we were all starving, total race superiority over prey. I had to assassinate 3 of my sisters just to shake things up, and after that there was the constant juggling of ever-shifting alliances trying to control portions of the hive mind. Ugh. She smiled. But hey, I'm here now, right? Reluctantly, the magician released her grip. Fine, I guess that's a good excuse. You're still doing the honor guard for Rarity's wedding, right? Oh, is that this loop? The changeling queen grinned and rubbed her hooves together. Great. Hold on, I need to get, Cadance to do the whole intro to Equestria bit. Asterisk there you go, Fluttershy said, smiling. That should fit you at that size. Spike examined the newly sewn suit. Thanks, Shy. You know, it's kind of helpful that you've been studying so many loops. I wanted to be ready for, well, everything. Fluttershy shrugged. It's helped a few times, too, especially when I end up in the wilderness. The dragon nodded. I know the feeling. I've had a few loops where I and a couple of others have to fend for ourselves. He pulled gently at the shoulder. Are these padded? A bit. Fluttershy pushed down on them, letting them collapse down slightly and then spring back up. I've seen human suits do it, it seems to be a thing. And I don't really have a default pattern for biped suits. She fussed slightly with the wing area. I'm afraid the only thing I could do for your wing shoulders, though, is to have them as little sleeves in the suit. That means you'll have to either expand to your current size while wearing it, or furl your wings as completely as you can to get it off. Oh, that should be fine, Spike assured her. I think I can drop the suit into my subspace pocket to get it off, and bring it out again to get it on. Oh, silly me, Fluttershy said, blushing. I don't normally use it for clothes, so. No, it's fine. Spike waved his claws. Really? Oh, out of curiosity, what fabric did you use? Carbon nanoweave, she replied. Seeing Spike's eyes widen, she smiled softly. It's made of diamond, essentially. It seemed appropriate. Too right. Spike stowed the suit with a mental nudge. Thanks again, Shy. It's no problem, Spike, she stated. We all want to make sure it's the best day it can be. She waved him farewell as he left. 10 minutes later, a knock came at her door. Angel opened it so fast the hinges smoked, earning a warning look from Fluttershy. Hi, Shy, Rarity said, standing on the step with a bundle of fabric. I was wondering if you'd be able to help me tweak this. I feel I need a second opinion. Not at all, Fluttershy said, stepping back from the door. I want to make sure it fits, is all. Rarity rubbed her hooves together nervously. I've never been so apprehensive ever, and it's making me doubt my own judgment. Oh, it'll be fine, Fluttershy smiled. I'll help you get it set up. That she'd be able to double-check that Spike's suit and Rarity's dress would go together was a silent bonus. / Master Weaver. That was exhilarating, actually, Mayor finally managed. I had no idea these pranks could be so much fun. Pinky grinned, sipping down her cider. We'll make a proper looper out of you yet, filly. Now all we've got to do is give you wings and a horn for a loop and get you swearing on plant parts. Wings and no. The other mare chuckled, waving a hoof. I don't think that'll be happening anytime soon. I couldn't possibly try to mimic the princesses like that. The party pony gave a deep sigh. And that is why you need wings and a horn. Oh well, we've got time. You know, darling, your mane is a lovely shade of fuchsia, Rarity interjected. If you like, I could help you style it in a more flattering manner. Thank you, but, no. I prefer being seen as an old mare. The mayor smiled. Politicians do need to maintain a certain amount of respect. Diamond Tiara snorted as she passed by. Old mare? Compared to us, you're essentially a filly. Excuse me, have you ever had to handle the paperwork this crazy town generates? Tiara gave her a flat look. Yes. The mayor blinked. Then she sighed. Right. Time loops. I know this and. It's fine, really. Rarity smiled and patted her shoulder. It takes a while for everyone to adjust. We're all here for you if you need it. Oh, no, I can't ask that. Mare shook her head. This is your wedding. I'll be fine, really. Anyway, Fluttershy is a lot better at this sort of thing, Pinky pointed out. I mean, Lemon Rush, Chrysalis, Clearwater. She's like a friendship ninja. The yellow Pegasus smiled awkwardly. I was a ninja one loop. Actual ninja, mind you, not one of those superpower Chakra Naruto ninjas. It was an interesting experience. Mare nodded. I can tell, I didn't even hear you walk up. Yes, well. Fluttershy turned to Pinkie Pie. Discord says he's ready on his end. Does, that mean anything to you?" The grin that Pinky responded with was one she'd learned in her tenure as a chaos god. "Oh, just a little surprise we whipped up." Rarity narrowed her eyes. "Surprise? Pinky, please don't tell me you did what I think you did." "All right, Rarity, I won't tell you I did what you think I did." The party pony grinned. "I'll show you instead. Now to see." On cue, the Draconaquus kicked down the door to Macintosh's bar, dragging Spike behind him. Fillies. Gentle colts. Assorted other genders. He paused. Twilight. "Har har," a voice from the corner deadpanned, "what it is to laugh. I have decided to give Spike an early wedding present. The present of one last hurrah as a single male. In 10 minutes, I will take him on a wild and crazy whirlwind tour. That's right. I, Discord, spirit of chaos and disharmony, am throwing Spike's bachelor party." And Pinky shouted, getting up on the bar. "In the spirit of gender equality, I, Pinky Mina Diane Pai, have taken it upon myself to throw an equally crazy and wild bachelorette party for my good friend Rarity. Sign-up sheets for both parties are posted around Ponyville, but remember, you can only go to one." Mayor swallowed at the loud cheer in the bar. These were loopers, ponies with insane experiences, who considered death itself to be merely a painful inconvenience. Exactly what would happen, what could happen, she had not a clue. Even knowing that Pinky would take precautions, even knowing that Twilight could magic up repairs, even knowing that the princesses themselves might step down to help with the cleanup. Her eyes turned to the 2 sheets that the Draconaquus and Pink Pony were stapling to the wall. Some part of her realized that it might be possible to mitigate the damage if she was present. Still, it took her 5 minutes and a generous amount of cider to work up the courage to walk over and sign her name. *Omrg Flum. Mayor opened her eyes slowly. It took her a moment to process the face in front of her, mostly because she was still somewhat unbelieving that a mustache could grow on a beak. After another moment, she glanced down at the warm purple blanket they were sharing, following the scales up to a face with a big orange mustache. And then, the memories trickled in. She seriously considered panicking. Or hyperventilating, or freaking out in some other manner. But, eventually, Mayor gave a mental shrug, nuzzled them both, and went back to sleep. It had been a fun night, after all. The white unicorn murmured bleary, his reluctant eyes slowly opening in the morning light. He brushed some blue bangs out of his face, taking a moment to realize he was in a bed, and turned to see a purple unicorn staring deadpan right at him. There was a moment of rapid-fire processing. "Okay, this is bad." The mayor sighed. "Calm down." "No, I mean, I was drunk. I didn't expect anything like. Just take a breath." "Oh no, oh god, what are ponies going to think when they find out about?" "Dude." The lavender mare burst into green flames for a second, leaving behind a black insectoid figure. "It's me." The white unicorn paused. "I don't know if this makes it better or worse." "Come off it, Spinneret, we both know it's you." The changeling rolled her eyes. "Now shift back and let's figure out how to sneak back to the hive before anybody pins this on us." There was a firm knock at the door. "You still look like a pony." The changeling waved a hoof. "Go on. Explain things, your freaking shining armor." Spinneret gulped, opening the door and coming face to face with his mirror image. He vaguely remembered something about loops from the hive mind, something about shining and changelings not being the best mixture, and put on a game face. "I can explain. Do you remember anything that happened last night?" Shining Armor asked calmly. Spinneret tapped his hoof, considering his options, and decided to go for broke. "Honestly? No. Nothing." "Well then. Let me remind you who you." Shining's horn shone briefly and snapped a window shut just before the other changeling could hop out. And your companion suggested would make a cute couple. The disguised changeling gulped. He remembered the purple unicorn he woke up with. I'm guessing you and some pony unacceptable. My little sister. Shining Armor smiled politely. I would have let it slide because I understand changelings are lax in that regard. But then you started acting out our parts. Loudly. In front of all the partiers. He shook his head. And this morning, I woke up having to deal with the fallout. Spinneret flinched back. I'm sorry. Really? I am. I belatedly, he flashed back into his actual form. Shining Armor stepped in. The door shut behind him. He was still smiling. Spinneret fainted. The captain of the guard sighed. You. Stop scrabbling at the window and get your buddy out of here. Now. His stern eyes trailed after the changeling as he picked up his friend and scrambled out of the room. He managed to keep from bursting into laughter for all of 30 seconds. Chrysalis trotted in, shaking her head. Really, dear, is it necessary to traumatize my subjects? No, Shining replied as he disintegrated into a cloud of sparkles and became a blue unicorn mare. But I figure that Twilight and Shining are way too busy running the wedding plans to get involved in matters of honor, and hey, why not have a little fun while I'm at it? Trixie grinned at her mare friend. Besides, you know you liked it. Chrysalis shrugged and sighed melodramatically. Oh, I suppose you have a point. And we do have an empty bedroom now. Oh, I love the way you think. Are we all ready? Pinky asked, looking around her preparation area. Gustav and Donut Joe nodded. Mulia did something complicated with a pair of icing nunchaku. Cup and Carrot Cake exchanged a glance. Yes, they answered, in unison. Sweetie Belle raised a hoof. Me too. Pinky frowned. Backing music, please. Sweetie nodded amicably. Clover, set up. Set up. Magic flute. To start us off, Sweetie said, bringing the silver flute to her lips, Libimo, or the drinking song. As the first strains of music drifted into the air, Pinky clapped her hooves. Okay, guys, let's go. The trio Pinky had first met all that time ago on the Friendship Express started work on their specialties, and the cakes began constructing the bottom layer of a mammoth multi-layer wedding cake. Sometimes, the classics were best. On the other hand, a new fillip could be interesting too. Which was why Pinky was making the figures for the cake top out of her super secret stock of capital A ambrosia, and then layering in several simple enchantments and a couple of more complicated ones. A lot of ponies had figures topping their cakes. Very few had ones which were animate. Speaking of, Pinky broke off her construction of figure Spike's left wing to check on her experimental sugar phoenix currently curing in the number 5 oven. All indications were it was going super duper. She grinned. If she'd got that one right, it would breathe marzipan and regularly explode into a pile of toffees, before reforming from the powdery sugar dusting. Oh, and there was that apple, cranberry, and peridot pie the size of a table she was making, too. And the sugar work. Pinky's grin looked like it would take her head off. It was so rare she got to really cut loose. Dusted off the edges of her hooves. Right. That's done and ready. Normally, alternating between lazy and frantic was Dash's MO. But this time, with something important at stake, she'd decided to plan things out well in advance. The result was the complicated weather schedule laying in front of her. It meant that, for a full 7-day window, she could guarantee the exact weather conditions at the planned wedding site with only a minimum of alteration on the day itself. So, technically, she was putting a huge amount of effort into being able to be lazy. Well, Rarity would probably prefer her to be in the audience anyway. I'm just wondering what the best time would be, Dash repeated. You know. so I can get the timing right on the weather effects. Yes, we heard you, Rarity said with a sigh. I know, you asked yesterday. But it's all got a bit complicated. Dash perked up her ears. She could hear the faint sound of an argument from inside. Okay, look, Luna said crossly. I am as fond of Spike and Rarity as you are, sister, so to unilaterally declare that their wedding should take place during the day is a travesty. It's just when weddings normally happen, Luna, Celestia protested. I am not trying to usurp the position of patron over the wedding in any way, shape, or form. And yet, it is having precisely that effect, Luna said darkly. Besides which, were it to be put to a vote, I am sure that young Nyx and I would outvote you 2-1. And why does she get a separate vote to you but I cannot bring in any others? Celestia replied hotly. Rarity looked over her shoulder, wincing. They could be a while. Starfata. Applejack walked to a relatively unused patch of land on Sweet Apple Acres, bringing Twilight Velvet, Rarity, and Spike along with her. I didn't collect as many things as Twilight while we were away, but I've been working on growing these samples from our trip. She explained to the older mare, ignoring the way Twilight Velvet mumbled to herself while going over her checklists. Some we traded for, and others were gifts. She continued. And Twilight held most of them. We thought we'd show you what we've got so far. Rarity perked up as they got close to the brand new greenhouse the Looping Apple family had built that first day. What sort of plants do you have in here, Applejack? Applejack grinned, opening the door. Twilight Velvet looked up from her notes and blinked. Is it just me, or is it bigger on the inside? Spike nodded, suppressing a grin. One of Twilight's spells? The undetectable expansion charm. Not quite. Applejack shook her head. Same basic principles though. If you'd like to walk this way, we've got all the flowers we could find in our pockets. Rarity's eyes widened at the rows of plants. She could see some type of glowing fern, some plants that Sweetie Belle had shown her from her trip to Middle-earth, and dozens more that she'd never seen in her life. Oh my! You certainly have been busy, Applejack. The other looper checked to see Twilight Velvet engrossed in her exploration, then replied. Not just me, Sugar Cube. Twilight's been collecting wedding presents for a long time now. I asked her to get samples of plants for me, and the others all pitched in where they could. We all want to help make this a day to remember for the two of you. As Rarity teared up at the sentiment, Applejack decided not to tell her about the surveillance system Applebloom was installing in the venue. It was going to be one heck of a wedding video when the Crusaders got around to the editing. Okay, that is it. Celestia and Luna both turned towards the door as Twilight Sparkle slammed it open. Her element was on her forehead, and faint wisps of magic curling around her flanks served fair warning that she was on the razor edge short of ascending. You two have been arguing about this for 2 hours solid, Twilight informed them matter-of-factly, with a calm that fooled no pony. Since you don't seem capable of resolving it in a way that both parties are satisfied with, I'm going to overrule you. But Celestia protested. I have the stronger claim, in that Rarity is one of my best friends and Spike is in some sense a combination of brother and child, Twilight continued over the top of Celestia. As such, the wedding will take place at dawn. The weather will start cloudy, with one pre-scheduled clear sky window approximately 10 minutes before dawn and then the clouds parting approximately 10 minutes after. Gilda strolled in, flicking her tail unconcernedly. An eclipse would work too, of course. But unless you can both agree on a solar eclipse, it's dawn. The two alicorns transferred their gaze to the griffin. Why then? She flirted her tail again. Kinda need dark sky for an entrance. Sides, it's a compromise in her favor, isn't she? Called Twilight. Luna sighed. It isn't as though we're going to resolve it otherwise. Miss Stirk. Oh, hello there, Twilight, Fluttershy said as she carefully walked into Tree Library where the purple unicorn was busy planning for the upcoming wedding. "Hello, Fluttershy. Did you need something?" Twilight asked while peering over her lists. The yellow Pegasus nodded, "I just needed a book." "Oh, are you still working on the wedding? Does that mean that no pony told you?" "Told me what?" "Oh, about what happened. I suppose I should tell you, Air. You see, Spike and Rarity, they decided to elope. They said something about how they decided they didn't want a big to-do, and ran off towards the beaches of the Western Ocean." "What? But what about? Why?" "No, they wouldn't. I mean, everything had to be perfect. All the guests. The checklists. So many checklists. So many," Twilight said right before her brain rage quit and she toppled over on her side. "Twilight? Are you okay?" Fluttershy cautiously poked the passed-out unicorn with a hoof. "Somewhere, a goat bleated." The Pegasus gave a nod and reached into her mane and pulled down a zipper. "You've still got it." Pinkie Pie giggled happily to herself as she pulled off the color-changing contacts and stepped out of her Fluttershy suit. // Master Weaver. "Excuse me, are you Prince Blueblood?" The glorious stallion that was the apple of all of Canterlot, gem of Equestria, and family to the Sunbringer herself deigned to acknowledge the mare speaking to him. "Why, yes, my dear. And you?" He considered her face, recalling some announcement about a group of commoners that had saved the country from an absolutely garish lord of chaos. "Why, you're the bearer of kindness, are you not? Generosity, actually." The unicorn smiled politely. Blueblood noted that her eyes and coat could well be considered a feminine version of his own, though the admittedly fashionable purple curls ruined the mirror image. "You see, Celestia has agreed to arrange a wedding between me and my paramour, but I felt that with all she had on her plate I should find some pony else to help with certain aspects." "Oh. Auntie had agreed to such a thing?" He supposed it wasn't entirely out of the realm of possibility. "Do tell." "I need some pony who knows Canterlot," the mare explained. "Some pony who moves in high circles. Some pony who understand the high culture, the cuisines, the character. Some pony noble and powerful." Prince Blueblood rose his regal head. "Why, of course I'll help." This mare had a good head on her shoulders. "Oh, thank you. It would have been so difficult to contact Fancy Pants on my own." That was a strange statement. "Whatever do you mean?" "Well," the mare explained casually, "there are so many letters sent to him every day. I couldn't possibly ask him directly to coordinate with my organizer, but now that you've agreed to..." "I'm sorry, you want Fancy Pants to organize your wedding?" "Well, yes. Wasn't I clear?" The prince smiled gently. "My dear, you really should have said. I assumed you meant me." For some strange reason this confused the poor mare. "Ah. You did. I am, after all, the paragon of Canterlot nobility." The mare actually tittered. Tittered. As though it were a joke. "Oh, Blueblood, you are such a comedian." He frowned. "No, I'm serious." Her laughter petered out. Her smile remained, though by now it was oddly strained. "You are. But of course, my dear. ... Oh." The mare began to back away slowly. "I see. Well then, ahem. I shall be going. I'll be sure to alert your dock butler that he is needed. Is that all right, Blueblood?" Ah. Something was definitely off, but the prince couldn't figure out what. "I suppose. Ta-da." That strained smile disappeared behind a door. Well, that had been strange. Blueblood wondered what poor sap had been saddled with that mare, then decided he didn't care and went back to allowing the world to bask in his magnificence. And I planted just enough evidence when he wasn't looking to land him in an asylum, Pinky reported with a grin. You're sure this is all right? Fluttershy fidgeted a bit. I don't know if we should be doing this. Don't worry, I checked the asylums of this loop. They're very competent. And, well. Rarity smirked like a shark. I don't want him to ruin my wedding, and he does need this. Asterisk in the eerie light of a full moon, a small party of travelers cantered down the main road. Still think it's hilarious, the largest of them said, a great earth pony stallion the size of Big Mac. Emblazoned on his flank was a strange cutie mark which resembled a blocky metal claw, with 4 fingers to it. I mean, you told us about your time here, but by the... Shut up, Bjorn, a small, bright yellow colt said, ears flaming. I don't ask to be 9 years old here, so quit it. The wolves loping alongside sniggered. And you lot, the colt added, sighing. You're a bad influence on them, Leah. The largest of the 3 wolves winked. It's part of my job description. I am awesome werewolf bitch, after all. This is just the bitch part. I'll tell you what you're not, though, the sole unicorn in the group said. A Viking. I vote Leah Clearwater be adopted as honorary Viking, a young dragon volunteered. All in favor? 2 enthusiastic yips and another bout of laughter from Bjorn carried the motion. I don't feel any more violent, Leah said lightly. Hey, not all Vikings are violent, the unicorn protested. Hiccup, Viking is a job description, the colt said apologetically. It sort of does mean violent Norseman. And you'd know, I suppose, Rush. Hiccup shook his head. Is it any wonder I turned out like I did? Yes, the dragon replied promptly. I'm surprised you're literate. Well, properly literate. Since those scratchings you call runes are basically straight lines bashed out by a rock on another rock, I suppose even cavemen could read them with reasonable fluency. And remind me, Toothless, which of us was it who built a siege weapon in a hut with a box of scraps? Hiccup asked pointedly. Ooh, is Tony Stark here? Well. Toothless let the word trail off. Pony Stark. The motley group groaned or whined. Where is this place they're holding it, anyway? Bjorn asked after a moment. Toothless took 2 more steps and leapt skywards, snapping out his wings. Next turning on the left, he broadcast. Show off, Hiccup muttered, grinning. Hi. Hiccup said, scratching the back of his neck with a nervous hoof. We're invited. Hold on a minute. The utterly unflappable pony on door duty sorted through his clipboard. Party of 7, from... Well, the frozen north, Hiccup provided with a sigh. I'm so glad to see grass again. Pa. Grass. Bjorn said, shaking his head. Back on Mount Fenris, it's a warm summer when the ice is only 1 inch thick. I am so glad I've only been there once, Hiccup deadpanned. Here we go. Back row on the left. And, if you could make sure not to startle the other guests, sirs. Rush nodded firmly. I'll kick the flank of any who do. Twilight Velvet frowned. How strange. I'd thought Celestia was going to officiate, but she's in the seats with everyone else. Her daughter nodded. That's right. A friend we met on our travels volunteered to do it. Gilda watched overhead with an eagle eye as the clouds slowly parted. Luna had outdone herself for the occasion, and her sky was a glory in stars and nebulae and the tail of a vast comet, stretching across half the sky. Even with the lightning caused by the incipient sunlight, it was still easily visible. Then she saw it. A constellation that looked almost exactly like a running saddle Arabian, the proportions not being right for a pony. But there were a couple of stars too many, making it look like it had 5 legs. She exhaled, color draining from her fur and feathers before being replaced by red markings on the crown of her head, on her haunches, on her back. Her tail arched over into her sight line, and moved just so. A silent explosion of light filled the heavens. Asterisk as the crowd blinked back vision into their dark adapted eyes, they noticed a change. Standing behind the altar was the largest equine any of them had ever seen, larger even than Princess Celestia, by at least 3 hoofs. Though he had neither wings nor horn, his presence seemed to fill the room. As though he was too large to fit, or, perhaps, as though he would be too large, except that the room itself had grown merely from his standing there. And, it suddenly became apparent, he had 8 legs. "Hail and well met, all of you," he said, voice rumbling out of a deep chest. "I am Sleipnir Locason, Odin's steed, and I have been asked to officiate today." Well, there he is, Leah whispered. "Okay, I can kinda see where Rarity was coming from, he looks good in a suit." "We'll take your word for it," Hiccup replied, applying muffliato to all of them so they didn't disturb any of the other guests. "I didn't realize one of Loki's kids was going to officiate, though, that's pretty cool. He's Fenris' elder brother, right?" Rush checked, getting a nod. "Right. I suppose I shouldn't be surprised he oversees this place." Hiccup, Toothless asked lightly. "Can I wear a suit next time? I fancy being an island-to-island preacher." "We'll work something out," Hiccup hedged. "Hey, can you hear that?" The various wolves, ponies, and dragon pricked up their ears. "That's an orchestra, isn't it?" Bjorn said with a frown. "Where did they fit an orchestra?" Leah blinked. "Okay, I recognize the music. It's Lohengrin's Trulichka Fahrite Sie Het in. Bella hates it, says it's too mainstream. Rants for hours." The wolf shrugged. "In all fairness, she may have a point. The English name is Here Comes the Bride." With a dramatic creak, the doors swung open. First through, in a simple white dress, was Sweetie Belle. A flute was hovering at her lips, and she was working it in a way which was physically incapable of producing the rich, multi-instrument sounds emanating from it. Then came Rarity, wearing. Well, it didn't look like a wedding dress, so much as the wedding dress. The one that everyone else was copying when they sewed theirs. "Wait a minute." Toothless pathed, looking closer. "She's woven that from diamond. Optical fiber diamond. That's why it's sparkling like that." Several of the others gave him looks. "Since when were you an expert?" Hiccup asked for all of them. Toothless huffed. "Since I met Spyro. He's a connoisseur of gemstones." Leah chuckled, pointing to the front of the room. "Look at Spike." Bjorn stifled a bark of laughter. "He looks like he's been pole-axed by a pole-axe?" Rush suggested, earning a stuck-out tongue. Freaky whined, pointing back towards Rarity, and they turned like a crowd at a tennis match. Rarity had stopped dead, eyes fixed on Spike in return. Her bridesmaids, the 3 crusaders, not either providing the music or sitting with the other royal sisters, had to do some complicated hoofwork to avoid colliding with her. "I'd say that's a good sign," Hiccup said absently. *EZ's note, Discord's evil laugh goes for about a minute real time. Deleted 90% of it for sanity.